The top story: nearly 3 months after demonetization and the victory of Donald Trump, India Incorporated remains unfazed. A mega pre-budget poll conducted by BMR advisors in association with Forbes India and CNBC TV18 shows the industry is upbeat.
For GST rollout. 62% say they are partially prepared, while 30% of the CEOs say they're not prepared for GST. And finally, tax relief is the big expectation from the industry ahead of the budget. Only 9% of the CEOs polled believe that the government's tax simplification measures have been highly effective. 61% say that the centre's tax measures have had a limited effect. Here is the top brass at BMR and a few other experts on the poll findings and what they mean ahead of the budget.
I continue to be an optimist insofar as growth is concerned. I know there are all kinds of pessimist growth projections post-demonetization. I think the demonetization debate is something that has been beaten to death. I think what the finance minister would be looking out for is what next. Now that demonetization has happened, how does he address this whole debate on demand contraction? How does he address the debate on picking up the private investment? How does he address the debate whether he wants to stick to his fiscal deficit target or loosen up the purse strings?
This has been the big demand of industry, that ICDS is something that is not needed. Do you see it staying? Do you see it going?
Well, I certainly hope, and so does the industry, that ICDS goes. When we looked at our poll, 60% of people said we want simplification. And I think our tax rules are complicated enough. And we could do without having another accounting overlay for our tax purposes. And therefore, I think the system that has prevailed so far is good. If the finance minister wishes to do some stuff on the tax simplification, maybe just a little tweaks around the mat will help. And of course, some of the other rules and regulations that they've been bringing in on indirect transfers and the POEM could also be rationalized further.
Aggressively cut down corporate taxation from 34% to 20% and remove all incentives. Then you become at par with the UK, with Singapore, so at least on that, you're on a kind of level playing field. Will USA attract more investments? It seems so. There's going to be infra spending, so it does seem that will happen. So my sense is from the poll that people still feel that we will be less affected is because we have the ability to create domestic demand. We have that ability.
Safety should be now given the uppermost priority, topmost priority as far as the railways is concerned. And if there is a fund being created, that can only be good news. I think I'm in broad agreement with the results of the poll as well. Telecoms, roads, ports, I think there can be no debate that these are things which need urgent attention in terms of budgetary thrust. And I think that's key, because if only a mixture of all this can give you the required thrust to keep getting growth back on track. And I think the government will be mindful of that, and the budget will show us some signs, clear signs on that.
Let's slip into a very short break on that note. But on the other side, Bharti Airtel has reported dismal quarter as demonetization and Jio take a toll on the India business. The complete analysis on the other side.